Mr. Readdy, being an astronaut sounds like a really cool job. Is that what you said you wanted to be when you were my age?
Well, when I was at your age, it was the beginning of the space age, and we were just starting to take our first flights. And I remember being very interested in what was going on. We had just now seen the first pictures of the Earth taken from space, and I was fascinated with it. And I remember thinking that, you know, there were astronauts flying from America, and there were cosmonauts flying from Russia, and they said that we were going to land on the moon. I remember following it very closely, but I just never thought when I was in fourth grade that I would be an astronaut. Bob, when did you decide you wanted to be a mining engineer?
Well, actually, I was in college. I always loved playing in the sandbox as a kid. It's a lot of fun when you're playing with your dump trucks and everything. And I said, well, I want to find something I enjoy doing in life. And mining is nothing but playing with big toys instead of little toys. So I decided when I was in college I wanted to find something I like to do, I enjoy doing, and I like being around machinery.
Mr. Zick, what subjects in school helped you prepare for being a miner?
Well, being a mining engineer, math is absolutely critical, along with a lot of your sciences, along with English, because you got to be able to communicate with people. What about you, Bill?
Well, I remember always being interested in geography and geology and the sciences, looking back at planet Earth. But I think I'd have to agree with Bob. What's probably the most important is that you get a really good education in mathematics and that you keep some curiosity about science.
Wow, if coal miners and astronauts use these subjects so much, are there other things about your jobs that are alike?
Yes, there are. There are a whole bunch, and I was thinking as we were down in the mine, you know, how much technology there is in mining. In a lot of ways, it's like what we do in space. There's a lot of things that have to do with robotics. There are a lot of things that have to do with computers, and there are so many things I think that we have in common. What would you say, Bob?
Well, you can start even with the electrical systems. You know, like the space shuttle, I'm sure it's controlled by various and numerous electrical systems. We have to carry power inside the mine with us. So, you know, from the electrical standpoint, you know, that's very common. The space shuttle also has hydraulic systems on it. All the equipment underground has hydraulic systems on it. In addition, you know, we have to carry water with us in the mines. We have to be able to pump water out of the mines. We have to have transportation in the mines. We have to have communication in the mines. All that has to be handled by different types of people, and that's the same thing the space shuttle does.
Well, I was also thinking when we were down there that we both have to wear protective equipment to be safe. And you look there, you've got to have your hard hat, you've got to have your light. We have our space helmet. Of course, we have to have our own air with us. And we also have to have our light because 45 minutes out of the hour and a half that it takes to orbit around the planet is in darkness. And without those lights on our helmet, we can't see to do a spacewalk.
Mr. Zick, I've never been in a coal mine before. What's it like to work there?
Well, for me, I like working in a coal mine. It's actually a lot of fun. But it's not dark like everybody thinks because, first of all, everybody has their own light with them. Secondly, all mines are covered with a white limestone, which makes the mines actually white inside and the light reflects off the light. So it's very bright inside a mine with your lights on. So it's not scary like everyone would think.
Okay.
Okay, Bill, you've been probably one of the few people, or probably the only person that's been both underground and in space. How do you think the two compare?
Well, they're both very extreme environments. If you think about space, I was really surprised that there was so much similarity between flying in space and then being down in the mine. And when you think about it, it makes perfect sense. It's important to have protective equipment. It's important to have a safety philosophy. It's important to communicate with your teammates. But the other thing was just, for example, handling the atmosphere. On board the space shuttle, we take our own atmosphere with us. We have to clean it. We have to circulate it with fans. I was struck that there's the same thing in the mine. is you have to circulate the air through the mine in order to maintain a breathable mixture of air. You need your protective equipment. You need your hard hat, for example, just like we wear a hard hat with our own oxygen if we have to step outside of the space shuttle and do a spacewalk, for example, to fix a space telescope or to assemble the International Space Station or do something like that. The tasks are also done robotically, and that's something that I thought was very similar between the space shuttle and the space station, where we have robots that we control from inside the space shuttle or the space station, and down in the mine, where the miner is not actually physically mining the coal. He's controlling a robot and then being able to do all those heavy machinery tasks remotely. So that's very similar to what we do in space.
What about safety? That has to be important. What do you do if something goes wrong?
Well, safety is always on our minds. We've had some tragedy in the space program going back to the very beginning, and so we're always trying to improve our safety. We're always thinking about safety. We're always training on our safety procedures. There are a couple things. As a crew member, you're trained on safety, and you rehearse that over and over and over again. Also, the ground team that supports you is there to help with suggestions on how to deal with problems if they might arise. One of the things I thought about when we first got our briefing before we went into the mines was that it started out with a safety briefing, and it started out with a demonstration of the safety equipment so that you would know what to do. And I think that's probably the biggest part of safety, is being prepared to deal with those things, having thought about them and having rehearsed them. So safety is very, very important to us. It has to do with the mental preparation that you have, the training that you have, and then the equipment.
Well, safety in the mines, we train, we practice, and we train some more. It's the same way I'm sure it is in the space industry.
Mr. Zick, what's the most fun part of your job?
Hey, the most fun part of my job is planning mines and then actually putting them in and actually seeing the coal run out of these mines. To see it all work the way you have it planned out. Now, Bill, you'd have to have some very memorable moments from going up in space.
I was very lucky to get to fly in space 3 times, and all 3 missions were very, very different from one another. The last mission I flew was a docking mission with the Russian space station Mir, and I think probably the most memorable moment there was when I shook hands with Valery. He and I had trained together in Star City. He was a Russian pilot and I was an American pilot, and when we shook hands there on orbit after the space shuttle docked with the Mir space station, that had to be very special.
How about all that big equipment I saw? I'd like to operate a dozer or loader.
Someday I'd like to operate a rover on Mars like Spirit and Opportunity, only designed for humans, of course.
When you're talking about the Mars rovers, those rovers are hundreds of millions of miles away sometimes, and the operator is in the Jet Propulsion Laboratory in Pasadena, California. One of these days, though, the robotics that we're doing on the space shuttle and the space station, where we're right there, which is an awful lot more like mining, it is going to be done on the lunar surface. And they're going to be miners, only they're going to be wearing spacesuits, and they're going to be along with their mining equipment that's going to look probably very much like what we have here on the Earth. And they're going to be doing that and building habitats on the moon, and then we're going to go on later to Mars and probably do exactly the same thing.
We've been studying about Dr. Thomas Walker inside school. He was an early Kentucky explorer and the first to write about coal. What's it like going places where nobody's ever gone before?
Getting to space, looking back at this planet, looking out at the stars and the universe that surrounds us, all those things are new experiences. I think that's the curiosity that drives people, that makes us want to explore. It's part of our DNA. ever since there were first people on this earth. They always wanted to know what was beyond the next hill. What would you say, Bob?
I agree exactly what you're saying, because coal was formed hundreds of millions of years before mammals were even around, before humans were around. So each time a coal miner is in the coal mines advancing the coal face, he's going someplace where no one has ever been before.
Mr. Zick, you don't sound like you're from around here. Where did you grow up and why did you come to Eastern Kentucky?
I grew up in a little town in Wisconsin, very small town. And I wanted to be an engineer, so I went to University of Wisconsin-Madison and got my degree in mining and civil engineering. After I graduated from college, I decided to work around some big machinery. And the biggest machinery there was in Illinois, because there were large surface shovels and big drag lines, huge pieces of machinery. In fact, the bottom frame, the bottom half of a shovel, is what actually takes the space shuttle from, its docking area to the launch pad. And, it was just great to be around there. But then after spending a couple years there, I wanted to get some underground experience. So I came to Kentucky. Another reason I came to East Kentucky, because it offered me the greatest opportunity to use my education, both in engineering and business, and yet to be around big equipment like I love being around. And, who can pass up an opportunity like that?